Counter-Strike is like a game of chess where you have to find out where your opponent is strong, where they are weak, and how you can exploit that with your positioning. I'll be showing some examples from teams where they're going to be losing some crucial part of the map and they're going to have to make a decision where they either have to push or they have to refight for that part of the map, but I will be focusing more on the repushing side of it. Before we continue, if you want to take your Counter-Strike abilities to the next level, then you need to check out refrag.gg. Refrag is the premier training tool available for Counter-Strike 2 with over 20 different modes that train you at each aspect of the game, from aim to counter-strafing, utility, and so much more. If you want to use the training platform that me and so many other players use, then you need to check out refrag.gg. And now let's get back to the video. So an example here on Ancient is on mid. If you are a CT and you're not fighting for mid, you're just playing a default round, you're throwing some mid nades, and at the beginning of the round you see this red smoke, and after they take mid, they throw this donut smoke. If you're playing one donut, one at A, and 3 towards B, there's a chance now that they can either 1, split you on A on like the next timing, or 2, they can focus their efforts on making you repush and try to find out where they're going to go. Because now that they have all of mid control, they are in prime position to split A, they're in prime position to set up a lurk at mid, so when they actually go B or A, they can cut off rotations. They could just be majority here and they could, smoke off one of the sides and then go towards B. Or, they can smoke this side and go towards A. And if you're only 2 here, they get this kill on this guy and they just keep on splitting towards A, then the round is over. So some examples of what you can do on Ancient when you lose mid control. So from when this donut smoke happens, the CTs, they can decide to all fight mid together. And this is something that you can kind of take away from like every single map, is you can always refight that part of the map. But if the T's are in a very strong setup to punish you when you come to refight, they kind of checkmated you here. In this map, if you have 2 guys that are towards A and you get smoked off donut, you can bring 1 more guy with you and you guys are waiting for 2 other people to come from B/red. If that guy was already there, you'll play retake on B. So you'll start, maybe you're going to smoke ramp as these 2 guys are coming close red, and we're all going to clear mid together. So now, when you lose this mid control and you refight here, now you're all fighting as a team. You're trying to clear out this lurk. Maybe there's 2, 3 guys here, and you're all fighting together, and you're getting really nice trades, and the round looks great. But you can't always refight mid. Maybe they're just exploding on this smoke going away, and they just start fighting this donut guy. They flash through the smoke, and they kill these donut players. Some other examples of what you can do is when you lose this mid control on Ancient, you can push A main. So if you're 1 guy donut, 1 guy A, instead of refighting from mid because they might be holding you, maybe A main is a gap in their defense. So if you're clearing out all of A main, if they do end up going A later, you can keep a guy here, and 1 guy is going to be in a strong position. Maybe he's playing big box, maybe he's just playing A main and they won't expect the second one. And these guys at B, all they have to do is they just have to have 1 guy that's holding the red cross and 2 people in a strong setup at B. Alternatively, you can also just keep pushing. Maybe there's a huge gap and they're not even holding A on these rounds, and you're finding a timing to keep going. So here we have G2 versus Spirit on Dust 2, and Dust 2 is kind of a different map where it's not very easy to find info, and there's only some situations where you're going to be forced to get info. And here we're going to have a long take from Spirit. Malps is throwing a flash, molly, he has lots of nades, and because he's 1 guy at long, he cannot really fight for this, of course. So these 2 B players are going to end up finding info. Hunter's already on short, so they were playing for heavy information on mid. Maybe they're going to fight mid a little bit together, and as soon as Malps is given up this whole control, these B players, because it was so fast, because it's a long rush, they only mollied and they didn't smoke on it yet. And they already knew that nobody was kind of here. They could only be in tunnels, outside tunnels, and they're pushing to get this info. And at the same time, Hunter as well, he's on short. He's responsible to try to not lose the entire site here. So Malps, he's going to be trying to delay them as much as he can after losing long control here. He's going to throw this smoke. Hunter is trying to make sure that they're not going to lose the whole of the site, but he hears Zontix running up short. He dies to him, and this is the cue for Maddies and Heavy God to kind of speed up here. And they don't have long, have to have something. They have short, they have mid as well from Maddies and Heavy God. They get this lurk kill on Chopper, which was a huge kill. And Sampaias gets a nice kill after the break through the smoke. And this round is going to be in G2's hands. A very classic example of why you have to take control of something when you lose like a key area of the map. So for Dust 2, you are losing long control. When you lose this control, you have to have short control. if you don't have short and you don't have long, you can't just sit on the site and expect that you're going to win. It's going to be very, very hard. Typically, you're going to be finding that timing when the T's, if they're playing slowish rounds, they're going to be faking some next step. Maybe they start taking cave control at the deeper area. Maybe they molly deep and they're clearing this out, and then this is your cue to push towards A main. Because if they're starting to clear out B, maybe this guy that was holding here, maybe he's holding from elbow, maybe he starts moving up and T wants to either go B with them, or maybe he just fully leaves and he goes T spawn towards B, because the T's are planning to end their round now. This is kind of like the times that you want to hit. Either it's really quickly after they take one area of the map, or it's going to be when the T's are showing their next move. A typical next move, which could be your cue to push, would be when this top con smoke and window smoke comes. And I've shown in other videos of how a lot of these rounds kind of look, but if teams are going to be going out mid on T side, how it's normally going to look is they'll smoke top mid, they'll smoke window, and they're going to take mid control. And normally what the CTs are doing is they're going to be delaying them. They're going to be using utility to block them so they can't just run down mid and just aim duel you. So they're going to smoke bottom con. They're going to slow the round down, and as this round is getting slowed down, the T's are making their next choice. Are they going to pause here, wait for pushes? Are they going to just throw these nades and they're just going to exec A fully? Or chill, wait out your utility a little bit, smoke window, smoke top con, and then they're going to be ending their round. So they'll either go into con, and they're going to have 3 guys here, 1 guy ramp, 1 guy palace, maybe it's 4 mid, and they're going to be doing some type of A split. So your goal is either to get ahead of this smoke, or you can push when this smoke comes. We have Spirit against Mouse on Mirage. Donk is going to be throwing a molly top mid, and there's going to be a smoke in bottom connector from Donk here. And as you can see, Zoe is already close ramp. Shiro was covering him to get into ramp. But what I want to highlight here is when they decide to do something more. Here's where we kind of lose info on mid. And as you can see, when they lose that info, because they're already close ramp, that's when they decide to start going. So Zontix loses this info, and this is when the call is made to push ramp and clear it all out. Because they can't just stay in this position forever. If they, being Mouse, decide to start splitting up con, maybe there's a guy holding back ramp, 1 guy palace, 3 guys here, Donk might just get smoked off, and these guys are just kind of stuck, and they're just waiting to get pincered. Before that happens, they're already finding this information, and this is honestly the main point that I wanted to show, is when is the decision made to find this info. And it is going to be a beat pop regardless, and Zontix is going to be getting some important kills. Shiro gets the lurk kill, and everyone's going to get cleaned up here, but just highlighting the timing of when they are looking for that info. And here's my second example, and this is kind of just showing that you can also fight for these positions, and this could be a whole nother video on its own where I'm just showing examples of people fighting for the spots and what you can do besides pushing, of course. But as soon as this position happens where Mongols, they don't know exactly what's going to come next. They lost mid control, they have Blitz and Mzinho top con, they could boost window eventually, they can be splitting as they are, 1 ramp, 1 palace, 3 guys con. And this can be a very dangerous spot for Mongols. They're not really in a great position to repush A. So what do they do instead? They want to fight into connector. So they get this flash from 910. He's setting this up, flashes in, Mzinho and Blitz. They both go into con here, and they fight all of mid with Sensu peeking off of short. So I think the key is when you lose a piece of map control, you have to do something about it. Whether that's repushing that area of the map, repushing another part of the map. If you aren't strong for any of those, then you're just going to be relying on individual heroics to some degree. And of course, you have to stay dynamic in CS. You can't always have the same answer. You can't always be pushing. And a lot of the times, people are in very strong setups, and they are just waiting for all these nades to come, and then they're just going to stuff you in some way. They're going to throw some smoke to block, or they're going to flash check in some area of the map to push forward on either some piece that's weak, or trying to directly fight where all of the T's are. You want to be going for these types of repushes when either you don't have any information, or you're really weak on one part of the map, and you have to try to find out where they are so you can overstack. If you have 3 or 4 guys towards mid, and there's only 1 lurker that it could be towards A and you have this information, you can only be ramp or palace. If you take one of these sides of the map, then you'll be in a way better position for when they start splitting you. If you want to be safe about it, especially when they're in an advantage situation like this, you want to push off of, when you feel like you're weak and when you feel like you need to do something. Here, as soon as this smoke window comes, the smoke top con comes from Mongols. As Apex is coming over, he drops the smoke to Rops, flashes into con to delay a little bit so he can get close ramp. Apex will flash flames into ramp since he knows he needs to do something here. Gets this kill, and now they have a lot more space. There's a smoke window, they could boost window. Smoke here, they can go top con. There could be, a huge split that's happening. So Vitality knows that they need to do something here. I mean, they could just sit into their spots, but they're not like the best fights for Rops and for Flames. If they were to both stay under Belk, they would have had to do, like a bait and switch where one guy's fighting, one guy's hiding. But Apex coming in clutch with this flash towards ramp opens up a huge part now. So Flames could just stay towards ramp. He's not sure how many are ramp. Maybe there's some guy trying to trade, so he's trying to be careful. But they are going to be coming up con here. And Techno, he's also looking at ramp. So as you can see, this push into ramp was really nice. As soon as Apex felt like they are about to do their next step in mid, with the smoke window, smoke top con, he's already rotating towards A to try to help free up some space for the two A players. You also notice in a lot of these games that you're not going to be seeing these repushes in every round. That is really, really important that you're seeing this dynamic part of the CT side macro, because if they were always just instantly repushing, then it would be very easy for the Ts to read. They can just hold for the next step from the CTs. So if they did two smokes at mid, they smoked top mid and they smoked window, and then afterwards they re-smoked top con and they re-smoked window, all they would have to do is just hold the pushes. If there was just two guys at ramp and they know you like to re-push ramp after that, they would just get easy kills. You kind of have to have both styles of your game, where you are forcing the Ts to show their next move, to show that they can actually beat when you're in a strong setup on the parts of the map. Then the Ts can just speed up their game, and now they're going to do more pops on you because they know you're saving your nades. So if they see from the T perspective that the CTs are saving their nades, that's when I would want to start playing a more fast-paced game, try to get their utility out of their hands, and you kind of have to do that by challenging a little bit more. With an op, with flash peeks, with 2 or 3 guys, peeking up on parts of the map to try to see what their setup is, see what they're saving their nades for, trying to get it out of their hands. And if they're not actually going to use their utility, if your strat is good enough and you're playing together, then you can end up just winning the round from getting these kills on CTs that are saving their nades. So here we have one more example from Mongols versus Vitality. And in this round, Mongols is going to be going for an A exec. Flames is going to be coming back over. And as you can see, there's not a lot of information. Vitality doesn't really know exactly where Mongols are. Mongols is trying to bait that they're going to actually come out mid late, or maybe they're going to walk up mid, or maybe they're going 2 underpass and they're going to be trying to do a faster split. And as soon as that Mongols is going to be showing this next step, they're giving the cue for Vitality to clear out mid. But you can't also just be waiting forever. You can't just wait for that next step that's never coming, because they could just exec A. The real reason why I wanted to show this is because you can be in situations where you push on one side of the map and you might end up being wrong. So on Mirage, you can clear out all of mid. They might not be there. They might actually be execing A, or they might actually be execing B. It could happen on Ancient 2. You could be re-clearing mid and they start B popping. If you are playing to retake this part of the map and they fight together and they start going out on the side that you're not playing for, that's just kind of how Counter-Strike is. Sometimes you're wrong. You can't always be correct on this type of search for information. But it's important that you still clear out mid and you trust in the retake that you're going to win it. So here we have Rops. He's going to be throwing a flash. He's going to be peeking out. Flames clears under window. Check underpass. Doesn't see anybody. And now the whole goal of the round is to win the retake. It is 5v5 retake. This is still completely doable. Mezzy even gets the early spam on this round. And as soon as Zaiwu knows for sure that they're going to be planting, he's going to rotate over. Epics gets picked. And trades are going to be happening. And Vitality is unfortunately not going to be winning this round in this example. But that's okay. That's how Counter-Strike is. Sometimes you have to go for these calculated gambles. You're not always going to win. But the fundamentals of the round is what I wanted to highlight. When they fight from mid here, they make the decision that they want to find the information at mid. Mongols, they executed A. They get a free site. Well, free. They use all of their utility to take it. But they get into a 5v5 after plant pretty much in this round. And As long as you're confident in your retakes and you've talked about how to retake, you can still win this round, and you're fighting for something together as a team. And I think that's what's important. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll probably make another video showing the stronger examples of, crossfires or, people saving their nades so they're not staying very predictable with always repushing for info and getting punished on that. But I hope that you guys learned something from this video. Make sure you like, subscribe. Tell me what more you'd like to see in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one.